the way I talk, I'm not good at it.
Me neither. And I quit sending her a Christmas letter. I just sent a card with a picture on it. She critiques it.
Oh, that's bad.
That is. That's so you understand it.
I
though,
do
right? I
understand.
told her I could do numbers, but not the
Oh,
grammar.
yeah.
Anyways, well, thank you. I wanted to make sure you got that. Hey, Jim. How are you? Good.
Hey, Darla, how's Jerry?
Thank you.
Is he doing good? Good.
Getting better a little, each time,
Commissioners, let me ask you a favor. Lean up and speak into the microphone. That was a source of our sound issues before, so remember, turn it towards you and get close,
But
like you like it.
what if we have to say something under our breath?
And just do this number right here.
I noticed on the consent agenda that this avocado green's being upgraded.
And we will now call the meeting to order. Mrs. Worthy, will you please call roll?
Mr. Brandon?
Here.
Mr. Lamb?
Here.
Mr. Beasley?
Present.
Mr. Watson?
Here.
Chairman Robertson?
Present. The chair recognizes a quorum. Thank you, Mrs. Worthy. So we will move to item 2, scheduled business. Item 2A, presentation and discussion of charter modification. And to present this topic to us, we will call on our attorney, Matt Peters, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair. And at this time, I'm going to do what I do best and immediately deflect to my co-counsel over here, Mr. McClure.
Yes.
Like we talked about whenever you guys hired us, we have a couple different positive things about each one of us. This is Daniel's forte here, so I'm going to turn it over to him at this time.
So I think I'm just giving an update on all of the work you're doing with the governor's office. Is that right, Ryan, and catching us up?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
So, reached out to the governor's office, had a number of conversations with their legal counsel. They went through all the documents that were submitted by Cushing in the past, and you all, when you submitted those documents, it didn't have the publication notice. And so we got with Ryan and your team, checked that out. We don't have the publication notice. And so it either wasn't done or it wasn't turned in, but we're not sure which one because we weren't here. But we know we don't have it. So with that said, we have to do this over again. And so I think everyone might be aware of that. So with that said, I was going to kind of go through and give you my thoughts on all three of your propositions and answer any questions you have. I'll start with your third proposition. That's your election procedures.
And just for clarification, for public information, these were charter changes that went to the public earlier this year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe I should clarify the process. When you submit a question to the voters, they approve it, obviously, or deny it. Through that process, there's a newspaper publication requirement that's required for notice. The governor will not and should not sign those documents that we send to the governor for approval once your voters have approved them, unless we have all of the required items. One of those is the publication notice, and that's the one that's in question on whether or not that actually occurred or not. And so we'll have to do them over again, make sure we get the publication notice turned in, and we will make sure that that's done now that we're on your team.
Okay.
But yeah, fair question. For Proposition 3, that's just the item for modifying your election provisions on when you file for office. My recommendation to you would be to, which is going to be similar for all three of these propositions, would be to mirror the state's requirements on filing. The reason for that is they've changed from time to time. Over the last probably 5 years, the legislature has taken off a number of eligible municipal dates that we can use for municipal elections. So I've been noticing that I've had cities that I've worked with or know about that they'll pick a date, they'll put it in their charter, then the legislature takes that date off as an eligible election date, and then you guys are out of luck. And so I would just recommend to you that we just follow that regular municipal process and adopt those. That way when changes are made, we don't get in a pickle of when we're going to get the election held. So that one's the easiest, that's why I did that one first. Same thing I think would apply for the purchasing of land and the purchasing caps. Prop 1 is your purchasing caps. Those went up about 2 years ago by the legislature. Was the first time they'd modified those, I think, in like 15 or 20 years. And so that was a good positive step. I like just modifying our code to match that provision. Now, there's a lot of things in government that I don't want to follow the state guidelines for necessarily, but these make sense, I think, because over time things change. And you never want to get into a process where we have to figure out if our municipal regulation is going to trump the state statute. So I would mimic that. As for Proposition 2, that's the one on the sale of property. Under state law, there are certain types of property that require a vote of the people. Those are called public trust properties, which is not necessarily meaning owned by a trust. It could mean a park land, it could mean industrial properties, municipal water plant, things of that nature. That's already in law that we have to send those to a vote of the people. And so if we mimic the state requirements, anything that's on that mandatory go to the people requirement, we can do that. Everything else would go through our municipal ordinance, and we can just modify those as you all see fit through your city ordinance book. So that's kind of the overview, but I'm happy to answer any questions and go over them with you. But I would propose to you that we go through and we mimic these to the state law. I've done that for some other cities that I represent, and that's gone well. And it's been about 1.5 years since I've done that for my last city. That seems to be going well. So happy to answer any questions, though.
I have a question. So do the pros outweigh the cons of this? So cons being cost is the first thing I would think about, what this election would cost.
I sure think so. I mean, I would. If you get this done, it's going to streamline your bidding procedures. I don't know for sure. I haven't asked Ryan this question, but what I anticipate you're probably going to see if you haven't seen it yet, when you deal with sophisticated vendors, they know the state procedures. All of their forms mimic the state procedures. And so if we have to do something different, you may not get as many bidders on projects because they're used to following the state procedures. So I think it's worth it. The election's minimal. I don't know, Ryan and staff could probably chime in. You probably didn't pay more than, $5 or $8 grand probably to do it. Okay. So probably definitely worth it.
And I think that Daniel and I just took a tour of the public safety facility you guys have out there and met with some of the police officers and firefighters out there, and, you know, they've got some equipment out there that they haven't even been able to completely utilize because of the downfalls in the current charter. So that's something that we're working on trying to change for them, so they can get new ambulances up and running and things of that nature that aren't just sitting out there going to waste because of this.
Thank you.
And I misspoke earlier when I said earlier this year. It was actually last year when
Okay.
the election took place in June 2024. So, but all three of the propositions passed by significant margins, so it's something that the people obviously were in support of. It's just we're having to address it now due to
Just a procedural flaw.
procedural flaw. So if there was consensus to move forward with your recommendations to mirror state law, what would that process like and timeline, and what recommendations do you have there?
We can get the draft ready for you within a week. I mean, it won't take long to get all the drafts made up. You would adopt them at your next council meeting. We'd pick an election date. We have to give so many days' notice. I don't have all them memorized, I apologize, but we'll get the calendar mapped out with the number of days that needs to be in the newspaper before it runs and which election date we can get on next. But we can have our part done within a week. And then we just need to catch that election date. It's November, it's almost November. You probably can hit the February date or the April date.
So am I to understand that this document in front of us is not what you'd submit?
No, I would not recommend that you do that.
Yeah, okay.
These were the original propositions, the
Yeah,
packet we
correct.
have, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
And would it be possible to get a summary of the changes you're recommending, or?
Literally, it's gonna be a one-liner. It's gonna be cut this entire section.
Right.
And it's gonna say, all purchases within the city of Cushing shall comply with the Competitive Bidding Act.
Okay.
That's what I would do for that one, and then likewise for the propositions for purchases, we would just mimic the public sale requirements, just point to that.
Okay.
So it'd be literally probably 1.5 sentences or 2 sentences.
Well, to elaborate on the changes that you're proposing, for one of the propositions, it was related to the city manager's spending authority, and then we were going to have to come back after it was approved by the governor's office and set some ordinances in place to set those limits. Would we still need to do that?
We would still do it that way. We
Yep.
would just say that we're gonna follow the state bidding act,
Right.
which outlines our thresholds. So right now, it's $100,000 is the threshold where you don't have to go out for public competitive bidding. Less than 100,000, you have to get qualified quotes. So that would be what our process would be. So over or under. There's also a process for emergencies, that if you have an emergency, I had this last week where I had a sewer main break and we had to fix it today. So there's a provision for that as well. So we would incorporate all of that by just saying we're following the state's competitive bidding act. And then you'd come back later and you'd set the city manager's spending threshold. Obviously, you need to be less than the 100,000 because that's what you have to bid out anyways. So you'd pick a number that makes sense for you all. It seems to be that $50,000, $75,000 is kind of what I've been seeing recently from the cities I've been working with. But yeah, I can get some examples for you from other cities that's helpful.
Any other questions for Mr. McClure? So on Proposition 2, it was related to the sale and purchase of land that the city owns. And can you elaborate on state law and
Yeah.
your recommendation and how that would change? Because I think it affected selling and maybe not, or one or the other. I can't remember. It's been a while.
So what's kind of interesting in what you have here is the way that it's drafted. It says for the sale of real or personal property. So it's all the property, right? You have to go through this provision. There are a lot of times where, I mean, I know it's set for $250,000 is the threshold. A lot of times that's going to come into play with property more than it is, personal items, right? Usually if we're selling something, you've probably wore the tires off that pickup truck or whatever it is before you're going to sell it. So it's not going to hit that $250,000 threshold. So we're really talking about land primarily. So if you're selling park land under state law, you have to go to a vote of the people. If you're selling any of those, what are those public works properties? I know you have an electrical facility, things like that. All of that has to go to the vote of the people anyways under state law. So we would set up a provision where all of that is going to mimic state law and it's going to go to a vote of the people. If it's not that, then we can just process it here.
Okay.
And the council can determine to surplus property and sell it. That doesn't mean you're just going to pick a person and sell it. You still have to follow responsible selling procedures. And so I helped a community recently, sold a bunch of property that they didn't need. They got it in some lawsuits, I think, as a settlement. We got appraisals for it. We went out for bid on it, and we got some bids and sold it. It just doesn't take us time to call an election and have the voters chime in on it if it's just selling something like that.
Thank you. What other questions do we have?
Looks pretty cut and dry to me. We just need to comply with, or match the state. And that way, I guess we're always in compliance.
That's my fear. I had another community that they did really what you did, where they had their own purchasing procedures. Whole new regime came in, a new one came in after that. So we're 3 or 4 governments after that was adopted. And they just started defaulting to the state law because that's what we're all trained in. And then that made a big oopsie. So there's also, as you go in time, you'll reach the point, which I've seen also recently, where we pick a number today that's reasonable, but in 20 years, it's not going to be a reasonable number just due to inflation. And so allowing the state to have those regular inflation adjustments as whenever they make them doesn't put that here for us to have to fix. It just gets fixed automatically.
Is there, you mentioned we could either, if there was consensus to move forward, we could either have it ready for the February election or the April election. Do you have a recommended preference from your perspective?
No, and I know we were talking about that. Ryan, did we say we could meet the February date still? I forgot.
I believe we're positioned to do that if commission takes action at their next meeting
next
next
meeting.
month.
Okay,
Yes.
we did talk about that, that's right. So yeah, we can have it ready by then and hit that February date if you'd like to. I don't think there's a big pro or con either way. I think it sounds like you have a lot of stuff that needs to get completed, so we probably need to do it as soon as possible is what it sounds like. But procedurally, we can do it either way.
And I'll elaborate on that as far as timing from the operational perspective. 2 examples. One, in the budget that you all approved and became effective July 1, there was an item in there for the purchase, to fund the purchase of a dump truck. I believe that dump truck, and I'll look at Derek, is 100 and...
Total price for the new truck is
$217. Okay, so the dump truck that needs to be purchased was quoted to us at $217,000. Currently, under our charter, we could not go out and purchase that without a vote of the people. So without taking it to the vote of the people. And we're also experiencing similar issues with upfitting of some ambulance bodies that we desperately need to get into service. So it will really help with the efficiency of our operations if we can, if the citizens ultimately support any question that's put in front of them. It'll greatly help us.
And I'm not sure when they originally passed that bidding rule, but I will say the Competitive Bidding Act that the state has, it's not like the staff's going to go pick something and buy it. Like, we have to go through publication of bids and notices. We publicly open the bids. All of the vendors are noticed and have an opportunity to submit a bid. So you're going to get responsible government doing it that way. It's not like we're making a right-in around to let them do whatever they want. We have to follow those procedures, and they work well because they're made that way. But the timeline, we can get that done in 90 days if he needs to buy something that's very important. Still having that safeguard and accountability, but otherwise we're having to hit election dates and spend money on the ballot, and you're kind of going backwards on dollars at that point.
Is this something that needs to happen sooner rather than later? And you're looking, what are you looking at, February?
Well, but it's a process that I'll ask for our council to help elaborate on. But once it's put to a vote of the people, and I should just let Daniel talk about this probably if you want to talk about
Yeah,
the
so
next steps. that need to
Procedurally, we will
occur.
draft up the propositions. They'll be on your next council meeting. You'll have them as 3 separate items. And whichever ones you approve, we will then have the election date on that document when you're approving it, so you'll know what date it's going to be. We will then run it in the newspaper twice and do all the proper notices and filings with the county election board. Goes to a vote in February. Once they approve it in February, we have to send it to the governor's office. He'll have to have his legal team review it and sign it. They know it's coming. I've talked with their counsel, so he's indicated to me, I have his number, just call me up when you get it done. We'll review it and try to get you done ASAP. And then once the governor's office signs it, it's effective.
So that's, once we get the governor's signature, then it's a done deal.
Correct.
Okay.
And I have no reason to believe they wouldn't sign it. It's all customary stuff.
But then we still have to come back and pass an ordinance after the government signs it.
You would come back and pass an ordinance for city manager's purchasing cap.
Yeah.
But we can do that in the meantime.
Sure.
So while we send that up, we can still come back and do
Okay,
that.
okay.
Just the timeline's on the propositions to get that going.
Well, unless anyone knows of a reason that I'm not thinking of, I don't see any reason to hold this process up and wait any longer. I think it's something that we obviously need to do, and,
I think we need to proceed.
yeah. So we,
Well, we won't need necessarily a vote for that. We'll just get it on the agenda. I'll have them draft it up probably by the end of the week and get with Matt, and he'll make sure he gets them to Ryan.
thank you, Mr.
I'll go ahead
McClure.
right over here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Any other input on this item? This was our only item on the pre-meeting workshop. If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Lamb to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
Second from Commissioner Brandon. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All right, that meeting is adjourned at 5:48 PM. We'll reconvene our regular meeting at 7 PM. Thank you.